Welcome to iEnhance Advocate. iEnhance Advocate is a platform for lawyers having less than 5 years of practice to come here and deliver a lecture on the topic of their choice. Today we have with us Advocate Jonica Narendrasinh Thakor. She is going to deliver a lecture on the overview of the POSH Act. She has delivered various lectures on the POSH law. So without wasting further time, I would request Advocate Jonica to commence with the lecture. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank Hammurabi Tablet for giving me such a wonderful opportunity to address before you a very sensitive topic with regards to women, which is Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act 2013, also known as POSH Act 2013. Before understanding about this act, let's just go back to the history to understand more better about this act. In 1990s, Rajasthan state government employer Bhavri Devi, who tried to prevent child marriage as part of her duties as a worker of the Women Development Program, was raped by multiple people from a community. Why was she raped? The only reason of her rape was that she tried to prevent child marriage. The people around did not like it and they just grouped in together and tried to rape certain people in that particular community, and Bhavri Devi suffered a loss with regards to the rape. The survivor, they did not get justice from the Rajasthan High Court, and the rapists were allowed to go free. This engaged the women rights group called Vishakha, that they filed a public interest litigation in the Supreme Court of India, wherein Supreme Court recognized that sexual harassment of women at workplace violates the fundamental right of the Article 15, 14, 19 and 21 of the Constitution. This laid down guidelines and rules to be observed to prevent sexual harassment of women at workplace act. These guidelines are applicable to all the countries, to overall India, to all the companies and to all the institutions to prohibit, prevent and redress sexual harassment of women at workplace act. After once the Supreme Court they delivered this particular guidelines and norms, there were few people who addressed that there was still nowhere a seriousness about this act. So a woman named Medha Kotwal thought of putting this as a letter to the government, and she felt that the Vishakha guidelines were not being followed effectively and they are not being implemented effectively. Converting the letter into a writ petition, the Supreme Court took the cognizance and undertook monitoring of implementation of Vishakha guidelines and took it really seriously. After the letter, which turned into a writ petition, the government thought to take it really seriously, that how could probably someone not follow this particular guidelines and norms which were passed by Vishakha guidelines related to Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act, through which the Supreme Court observed that the implementation of Vishakha guidelines has to be not only in form but also in the substance. So probably after this passing of the order, everywhere it was applied that Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act is required. Now let's get back to a second thing wherein it's a very basic thing to understand. Let us understand the definition of what is sexual harassment. Sexual harassment includes physical contacts in advance or a demand or request for sexual favors. It can be in any ways: making sexually colored remarks, showing pornography to anyone around, it can be anyone, friends of friends, women to women, women to men, any of them, and any other unwelcome physical, verbal or non-verbal conduct of sexual nature. Sexual harassment. This word sexual harassment is not mental harassment, it is physical, it is different type of harassment inside it. But when we talk about this particular term sexual harassment, it essentially conducts that it is sexual in nature and unwelcome. So anyone, if you are just sitting around and if anyone is just approaching you in a very unappropriate manner, I think it's unwelcoming. So rather try to analyze the situation with someone who are sitting around, and if you feel that you are feeling just uncomfortable, it is not suiting your environment, then that particular thing is unwelcomed and is sexual in nature. Unwelcome is a key in defining sexual harassment. Anything which is not with your concern, anything which is against your will is unwelcome. So try to understand what is unwelcome and how exactly it is making you uncomfortable. There is this very important thing about sexual harassment, which is intent is not important, impact is important. By this, your intention, whatever the particular person has, the intention is not really important, but how it is impacting the people in front of you is more important. It can be in any ways. You have to understand it, whether the person before you is really making certain type of sexual harassment gestures or not. You have to analyze it. If it is really making you uncomfortable, then that particular thing is intent, which is not important, but impact is important. Now, I would like to tell something about forms of sexual harassment. There are several forms of sexual harassment. One is sexual favors. It can be in any ways. It can be physically touching someone. It can be touching any part of your bodies. It is something which is making you uncomfortable by touching any of your body organs. Second, teasing. Eventually, whenever you're just roaming around and if you feel that someone is just trying to tease you, or say they give you certain kind of a comments which makes you feel uncomfortable, that is also sexual in nature. Third is sexual looks. It can be in any way. It is something which is like if you do a handshake with someone which is like not really appropriate, it has to be certain professional ways different, normal ways different. But if some gestures which is through hands, touching through hands, if you feel that it is sexual in nature, then definitely it's a sexual harassment. Moving ahead, let's just make you understand a definition about aggrieved woman. Now, whoever is a sufferer of sexual harassment can file a complaint. Now, who can file a complaint? Any aggrieved woman can file a complaint for the Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act. Let's just understand about a definition about an aggrieved woman. Aggrieved woman is a person who has suffered, who is a victim, who has suffered sexual harassment at Workplace Act, who is a sufferer of sexual harassment. Getting into more detail about this particular definition. In relation to a workplace, a woman of any age, whether employed or not, who alleges to have been subjected to any kind of act of sexual harassment by any of the person. So it is not required that a particular woman needs to be educated. Any woman at a workplace who is uneducated, a worker working at your home, your maid working at your home, even if they are facing any kind of an sexual harassment thing, they can do file a complaint against the particular person who has been doing it. Now, who all can be an aggrieved woman? Aggrieved woman includes employees, contractual staffs, housekeeping staffs, victims, guests. These are all a part of aggrieved woman. Yes, when we talk about guests, it can be this is a company wherein anyone is visiting you, and if that particular guest is also facing certain kind of a sexual harassment thing or any kind of an unwelcome situation, that particular person is also a part of aggrieved woman. Visitors again, as I am in this office, if someone is coming to visit me and that particular visitors, if they feel that okay, they are facing certain kind of unwelcome situation, then that visitors can also file a complaint against a Sexual Harassment of Women at a Workplace Act. Housekeeping staff, when we talk about housekeeping staff, it is someone, it can be your home, it can be any place around. If a maid is working at your home, probably that particular maid can also file a complaint for Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act because she has suffered sexual harassment through someone. Now, when we talk about women, My advice for women: be alert, don't ignore the harassment, don't blame yourself, say no clearly and firmly. Make it clear to your hesitor that the conduct is unwelcome. Even if you find something uncomfortable, make sure that you try to conduct that to a person that it is not really something which you are looking for, it is making you feel uncomfortable, and that's not how it should be. That is basically you need to speak up for yourself. For the managers in the company around or anywhere in the corporate industry, I believe that the managers should stop any sexual harassment which you are aware of. Managers should always take an immediate action. If once it is addressed to the manager, they have to take an immediate action. And before that, if any kind of a discouragement is something which you are facing personally, you should go approach your manager, talk about it so that that particular thing can be stopped. Do not take it lightly, because this is something, if you give a benefit of doubt to yourself, it would be something, it would create one, then two, and then twice, thrice, multiple times. So don't give this opportunity to someone. If you're feeling uncomfortable, feeling something sexually harassed mentally or anything, you can probably approach to your manager, you can talk about it, or anyone as a person concerned around, you can approach them. Now, after facing such an sexual harassment positions, let me tell you how you need to file a basic complaint. Okay, a person who is facing this kind of a sexual harassment can make 6 copies. They can file a complaint. An aggrieved woman can needs to have 6 copies with all the supporting documents which are proving that this is sexual harassment which has been done for that particular person. Name and address, whatever is the house address, whatever it is, there are certain kind of a documents which is required. It can be a name of your house, address of your house, your documents related to your sexual harassment, everything. Who can complain? Anyone can complain for this a particular thing. It can be aggrieved woman or someone who is related to aggrieved woman. If aggrieved woman is not in a position to complain, there can be someone who can represent her. Also, when we talk about the aggrieved woman, where the aggrieved woman is unable to make the complaint on account of the physical incapacity, mental incapacity, or death, anyone can appear for on behalf of them. It can be friends, relatives, co-workers, psychologist, and psychiatrist. Now, how Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act, also a POSH Act, is also called as Prevention, Prohibition, and Redressal. Prevention can include code of conduct, certain kind of a policies which can be invented into a particular company, and that can probably help to scheduleize the sexual harassment of women at workplace. And certain inquiries, any kind of a companies can probably set up an inquiry as to what went wrong with what kind of an employee, who went wrong, how did the things, how did the situation appear, where the situation appear. Every type of an inquiry is something which needs to be set up. And training, when we talk about training, POSH committee needs to be in all the companies around. All the corporate companies are something wherein it is definitely something which all the companies need to take care of. Wherein POSH committee is something, it can be an internal committee, it can be an external committee. Internal committee is somewhere which can be off by all the companies, corporate or private, public, anyone, wherein particular training for all the employees, be it males or females, it needs to be educated to them that how exactly sexual harassment of women needs to be stopped at your particular workplace. Empowering women in workplace is really important. If women are safe, the women can really do great in their life, and probably uh, it can really help you in presenting gender equality. It will show that in workplace, men's and women's are respected in a both equal manner. Awareness and sensitization is required with regards to the equality for women, and ensuring accountability. It has to be ensured that women are really safe at a workplace wherever they are, and probably it can help to generalize everything in the surrounding that yes, women have a certain kind of a stand wherein they are safe and they can work as equal to men's. The ratios are rising every now and then, wherein if we compare 2023 to 2024, the incidents with regards to sexual harassment of women at workplace have increased drastically. So to stop this, we need to understand that women need to be equal as men, and we need to keep women's around as safest as possible. Any kind of a situation, even if you're a male friend, if you feel that okay, the woman is your friend, maybe it can be female, if you feel that your friend is not being really uncomfortable about it, my first suggestion would be you just keep that particular conversation to you rather than talking about it to everyone around you who are just surrounded with you, and probably you cannot talk about it to anyone whenever you want. Do's and don'ts of for agreed woman. Everything, as I told before, it can be you need to be alert. You don't need to just deny. Don't give yourself a benefit of doubt that okay, it just happened for once or twice. Probably if you feel uncomfortable and unwelcome, I would like to tell you to address it to your particular committee member. Go to the IC people. You don't need to approach your HR. If you are in a company, corporate companies or private companies, go to your internal committee wherever they have formed for. HR is not a part of this. You should genuinely go to the internal committee. And if someone who are just out of the company, who are just a maid in some house, and certain kind of workers who are facing any kind of a sexual harassment of women, I probably feel they should go to the local committee. All of this starts with something to end with something. There are certain kind of a brackets which we have made for all the people around, so that if you put something along, there is a certain ways wherein we can help you with. So I believe that this particular session will be helpful for you, and I believe that sexual harassment of women is a topic wherein we emphasize on it, we think about it, and we as a movement also encourage that okay, let's just not continue it, let's just not give us a benefit of doubt, and let's just make it happen that yes, this is something we need to stop. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
So Jonica, thank you very much for a nice overview of the POSH Act, because this is one of the act now which is going to grow as the years are going to come. Correct. Today it is just in the the first stage of its growth. 2013 में आया है, इसको और बढ़ेगा ही आगे. So thank you very much, and a small token from us to you. This is for you.
Thank you so much, sir.